Hi Sam, how you doing? I'll bet you are wondering why I have this square drawn on your introductory page. And yes, you guessed it, because that's where I think your logo should go. Matter of fact, I want to start branding you from the moment your portfolio opens. I think we're missing an opportunity if we wait till page 2. I want to get the branding started immediately. Matter of fact, I'm going to suggest you place another page in front of this page that would be your opening page. Slip your logo in there, okay, and then leave it in the identical place that it would be on this page right here, kind of where I have this. So that you have your first page is your logo. Then your second page is, see how it looks with your logo and this, or just this. I'm going to say go ahead and keep the logo right in there for the first 2 pages, because you're just nailing your branding and really reinforcing your branding to your viewer. Right before your presentation even starts. So try that. Well, let's get the first page here, and then you open with your self-branding, and that's good. That's smart. The problem I'm seeing here is there are a couple. I want to talk about this page and your self-branding a little bit here. Now, logo is great, yes. I think there's too much color here. I don't know if this is a template that you've used, but look how much color. It's too weighty. The back of the business card, the back of the stationery, if that's the back of the stationery, I mean, it's just so weighty. It almost takes away from the simplicity and airiness and the kind of organic flow that you're establishing with your logo. And then all of a sudden we're just getting smashed with color. And I think that's going to become really bulky in the real world. I really do. I think the back of the business card with all that weight, I do. I think it's going to be really bulky. So I would suggest not using that kind of really heavy, weighty color background. Don't forget to format this. I'm going to zoom in here. And lorem ipsum is fine, but format this like a business letter. Don't forget, it's got to have salutations, date, and everything else on it. I'm noticing on this page, and this is probably a PDF rendering, but if I zoom in here, as you can see, things start becoming mighty blurry. You can't even read the card. So as I said, I'm not sure if that's a PDF rendering or if that's a low res template. I'm not real sure exactly what your process is, but I just want you to be aware that, if I were to get this right now, as a portfolio, I would look at it and I go, wow, this is really damaged. So let's take a look at the page itself. Now, what you're establishing in this page, I think your playing field, as it were, is too small. This is a good margin right here that you've set on the bottom. It might even be a little bit too big. So I'm going to suggest that you pull your title out to about here, okay? That will increase your playing field to something like this. Okay, and that, I think, will give you a lot more room to show your work. Actually, it would probably even come down a little bit further than that, but something like that, I'd say. Okay, and then you have all that real estate. Now, within that real estate, I want you to think about that grid. Remember that video in the announcements, Designing with the Grid. You might want to review that or just review grid in general. But I think that setting up a grid within this imaginary playing field that I just drew is really going to help with placement. For example, these are see how these are getting cut off right here. And I'll talk about those in a second. But as we go through the page, we can see that the I and the margin is moving around already on the first 3 pages. Okay, we go from, first 4 pages. Watch the margins and watch how, if we just watch the outer margin, watch how our I is jumping around. See what I'm saying? Or like that. You see what I'm saying? So each outer margin is changing instead of having this solid grid. Do you see what I'm saying? You following the cursor? That's why I'm moving the cursor like this, so you can see how the cursor moves, which means your left margin moves. And that's an inconsistency I think is really, it's felt and it's noticed on each page. Perhaps it's subconscious, nonetheless, it's creating an uncomfortable visual tension. My suggestion is to more create and adhere to a grid. Let me kind of show you what I mean. Okay, this is one of those student examples, and this is a wonderful portfolio. This designer elected to use a 2x2 grid. Okay, that's 2 across, 2 down. So you have 2 rows, 2 columns, and these columns, as you can see, every page has these 2 columns. So the eye becomes trained. You're basically training the viewer to say, okay, I know there's going to be something here, 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 and here. Okay. Now this page broke that up a little bit, and instead of saying in those 4 quadrants, you're just saying, okay, I'm going to stretch these quadrants and say, okay, so the viewer is going to expect to see something here and here. All right. And I think that that's something, and notice it's a little broken grid right there a little bit, but that's okay. And then broken grid here too, but not really, because here's your 2 columns, and then the bottom it's changed to 3 columns. So it's a broken grid a little bit, but it still fits, mathematically fits consistently. That's the whole playing field, as it were. Remember I drew that square? That would be that right there. Okay, and that's going to stay consistent on each page. Watch the outer margins. Okay, on this page, watch the outer margins. Watch my cursor. Okay, here it is right here. Notice it doesn't move. So, well, a little bit there, but not enough to make any difference whatsoever. So notice that, and then go back to your piece and notice how we're jumping around on each subsequent page where the eye is forced to move. So the key is to try to design within that grid. Okay, and I you know, it's you'll get there. I know you'll get there. The work itself is fantastic. The page mechanics, you're set for success. I just think that by following a grid, well, let's go through and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is pretty good, but right now you have this big white area over here. Okay, so if we could get that, and I'm not saying necessarily enlarge, well, yeah, you can enlarge it just so it would fit in that area. So that, I don't know how you want your grid to be. So let's say you want the 2x2 grid that we just saw in that example. So you would have this piece would be here, and then these 2 pieces would be here, but you know, they would be separated by that equal line in the middle. Okay, and then these 2 pieces, what I would do is that there would be your center line. You would duplicate that and then try to center those within that area. Right now, the eye is going right here because everything is forcing us into this imaginary kind of target like on a dartboard. You see what I'm saying? So by pulling those all out and increasing the white area between each of these, I think that will, now, which is going to bring us to enlarging these, each of these to fit this area. Okay. Magazine ad. Now, I noticed that you've done something really smart over here, and that's you've taken parts of the piece to fill in areas of the grid. And that's smart, and that's what I want you to think about in pieces like this. Okay, so you have the whole cover. Perhaps maybe have the whole cover over here. Then you have maybe a shot at a masthead right here. Okay, and then maybe a close-up of the typography here. Do you see what I'm saying? That way we have a couple of things to look at without overwhelming the viewer, and then you're not just forced to be staring at this, which will ultimately keep the viewer on this page just a moment longer, which is exactly what you want. Okay, that piece looks good. And you can see broken grid here. It's like, for example, watch my cursor. Okay, so if this were your grid that you were using, okay, these 2 areas right here. Right, so there would be the center, and then you can see right here in the center, we're smack dab in the middle of your layout. So that's an inconsistency that the viewer is going to notice. Okay, again, work this within a grid. Now, I think, and then same with this piece. And you've done a lot of that right here. So you know what you're doing. Just use your imagination. Really use your imagination and really try to give the viewer more than one central focal point. So in other words, maybe something like some close-up of a typography. You know what I'm saying? And I think it will improve your pages. At this piece, I think I want to talk a little bit about these templates that you use. And I think that they're good. I think that a really good idea is like, this is beautiful. I mean, this is very well done. These are great. I don't think that's a template. I think you shot that one yourself, I'm pretty sure. And I don't know if that's a template, but let me see. That might be, is that hard to say? That definitely is, though. And that's probably, I don't know, is that a shot that, I don't know how that was assembled. If it was assembled using a template site, that's great. It's pretty believable. These definitely were. So, and these definitely, I think were as well. No, these were not. Yeah. Okay. So I'm wrong here. You're doing these yourself. This is fantastic. But using these templates sometimes is presentation wise, it looks good, but it's the viewer. I mean, we can tell what's a template and what has been hand rendered, so to speak. Okay. So just be aware of that. Be aware that if you're going to use a template, the person looking at your portfolio reviewer or hiring professional is going to know that that's a template. Okay. So, and if that's not, boy, you did a darn good job with it. But anyways, I hope that makes sense. Okay. So, let's see. Okay. These pieces, I would redo these. Number one, these screens are at such an angle. It's almost creating these crazy angles. So the eyes go like this, and then these outer angles go like this because of the perspective. So I think that's a lost opportunity in that layout there. Here's a couple of different examples up here of how it was handled in some of these different, just an idea of different ways. That's good right there. That's really good. Love that. So, and that one's used over and over. So that's a really good idea there. And then with the iPad. So think about that. Also, these are backwards. The Apple's backwards there. Uh-oh. These look great. What I'd like you to do here, if possible, is can you extract these individual sketches from their background page, and that way you can set up let me see, you've got 3, 5, 10, 15, maybe a 3x5 or something, set up something so we can look at each one of these sketches in an equal presentational area. Okay, so however you decide to set up your grid, if it's going to be that 2x2, then you would fit as many as you could, or however you want to in that in those 4 quadrants. Do you see what I'm saying? So that we can take a look at each one of these closer. So you would take that, extract it from there, copy that, paste it, and then enlarge it, and then make sure it fits into however you're going to assemble your grid. Okay, fantastic. This is probably your strongest area right here. Thumbnail sketches through to the color studies, through to the digital illustration and layout. This is very, very strong. And I might even suggest that we end with that piece. I think that's a strong, strong piece to end with. Let's end with this piece. Okay. This is good. This is good retouching images. It's great. This is showing exactly what you want to show. I would suggest one thing, though. I think it's smart to show the finished product a little larger than the before. I think this might even be a little too large. Let's reduce the size of that. This is good. But, this Polaroid framed edge of the photograph, I think is something that's missing on yours. So I don't know how you want to handle that. I think that one of the things you possibly could do is duplicate that and use it as yours, or just at the very least, just create a little hairline stroke around that to indicate the frame, because those old Polaroid pictures, part of the charm of those things were the frame and the little date. So, I mean, if you could reproduce that frame and put it on here, you are golden. And the person looking at that is going to appreciate and understand the fact that you preserved one of the most important parts of these old Polaroid pictures. Looks great. Really good production file. Good job. Can we get this away. This is your production. This is your fold line in that. I think we should pull this away from the actual production file, just so the viewer doesn't think that that's part of the production file. Do you see what I'm saying? And then I think you have some photos, and I read what you said. Let's get a live shot in here, these things. This guy, let's get that in on I don't know, somewhere in a, Photoshop this in a frame in a bookshop or something. And that's the wonderful thing. And this one, you can photograph this in a frame in a bookshop or something, or a store window or something, It's a poetry poster. So let's figure out where we want to place it, Photoshop it in place. And I think that's going to really, really matter. It's because I think that, look, those templates are great and everything, but you don't always get the shot you want. So if you want to show this, like as maybe there's a kid sitting in a bookstore reading a magazine, and then there's a wall behind him, and on a wall there's a poster, and this is the poster. Do you see what I'm saying? It's easy to do, it's interesting, and it's not reeking of habitually using templates, if that makes sense. This is smart. This is smart showing this. What I would do is take this further and remember the larger playing field we were talking about. So you got your bigger image over here, and then you got this one here, and then another one over here. Okay. Now I want to talk about this a little bit, but I'm over 16 minutes, so I'm going to have to do another video. Sorry about this, man. I'll just do another quick video. Sorry, Sam.